going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Welcome to Senate Committee on Growth and Infrastructure. Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Senator Buck.
Here.
Senator Hansen.
Here.
Senator Doyante. Senator Pizzina.
Present.
Chair Nguyen.
Here. And please mark Senator Doyante present as he arrives. I know that he is in education right now. I know we have multiple bills going at one time, but I wanted to make sure we got started because we have a pretty full agenda. Before we get started with the bill hearings, just some simple housekeeping. Make sure you silence your electronic devices. I know we have a full house, and so I know I've been accustomed to forgetting to turn it off, so I just, as a good reminder to everyone else, to turn or silence your phones at this time. Also, remember when you come up to the table, please state your name clearly for the record, and please spell it for our committee staff. It will be very helpful, and I will try to remind you if you don't remember to say your name each and every time you speak. With that, the first thing that we are going to get to, just so we can get these bills down to the floor, is we have two committee bills for introduction this morning. And we have, the first BDR that we have is BDR 58-429. This relates to requiring the Public Utilities Commission of Nevada to adopt regulations to require a public utility to submit a monthly report containing certain information regarding terminations of utility services to residential customers. We also have Senate Bill 443. Oh, I'm sorry. We have Senate Bill, sorry, not 443, Senate Bill 28-1112. And this relates to public works, and I'm going to leave it at that because the description is very long. Do we have any discussion on these two committee bill introductions? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to introduce both of these BDRs for introduction in this committee.
So moved.
Do I have a second? I have a motion from Senator Pizzina and a second from Senator Hansen. Any other further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed say nay. This passes, and these will be referred to the floor for introduction later this afternoon. If you give me a second, I'm going to sign these so we can get these down there now. Blue one or? Sign them both. Thank you for your patience on that. Next, we will move to the bill hearings that we have on today. We have 3 bill hearings on our agenda for this morning, and today we will start with Senate Bill 315, and I will ask Senator Daly to come up to the table and begin when he is ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Skip Daly, representing Senate District 13, here to present Senate Bill 315. So SB 315 allows NDOT to use a one-time new procurement procedure known as progressive design build. So currently there are 3 procurement processes allowed. One is the traditional design bid build. 2 is you have design build, and then 3 is construction manager at risk. Progressive design build is a combination process with elements from design build and construction manager at risk. And as many of you may know, I'm not a fan of CMAR, so normally I would not support a process that has elements of CMAR. But in this case, for this particular project, where the state has received a grant from the federal government to widen I-80 between Vista Boulevard in Sparks and USA Parkway in Story County, and in the current environment, there is a risk the grant could be withdrawn unless the funds are allocated beforehand. So I want to do everything that we can to make sure this project moves forward quickly. And if you've ever been in the traffic jam on I-80 between Sparks and Trick, the Tahoe Regional Industrial Center, you'll know why this project is important for northern Nevada. So I agreed to introduce this bill because despite my concerns with the inherent CMAR elements under this process, I believe that this procurement will be beneficial to the swift advancement of this project. Again, the circumstances surrounding the project are unique and unlikely to reoccur. That is why this is drafted as a special act and will not appear in NRS. Even though all of the text of the bill is in black ink, all of the language is new. So I have here Mr. Craig Madole, and then we have a representative from NDOT here as well, who may come up to ask any technical questions you might have from the committee. So there are two, in my understanding, friendly amendments, one from the engineers, which are technical in the nature, and I believe someone may be here to answer those, or we'll get the answers to those questions. And the other amendment changes the self-perform requirement from 15% to 30%, making it consistent with existing CMAR language in engineering projects. The prime contractor as high as is required to perform as high as 50%. On CMAR it's 30, and we wanted to make it 30 on this particular project as well. So I will quickly, with not too much detail so we can keep moving, go through the bill. So sections 2 through 7 define certain terms referenced in the bill. Section 8 describes the one and only project that NDOT will be authorized to use the progressive design build procurement process. Section 9 specifies the advertisement requirements and information that must be included in the advertisement. Section 10 allows NDOT to use either a one-step or two-step selection procedure and lists the factors that will be used to rank the applicants. It's a CMAR element. Section 11 allows NDOT after selection and after the pre-construction and design to begin negotiations with the selected contractor for a guaranteed maximum price. Section 11 allows NDOT, if they cannot reach an agreement on the guaranteed maximum price, NDOT can switch to another contractor that submitted a proposal or put the project out to bid. Section 12 makes clear that Nevada prevailing wage laws apply and specifies the maximum amount NDOT will pay for their pre-construction services and requires a selected contractor to self-perform at least the 30% I talked about a minute ago. Section 13 has the standard language regarding confidentiality of certain information once a contractor is selected. Most of the information submitted by that contractor becomes public. Trade secrets and some financial information remains confidential. Section 14 is standard language regarding the possible use of an architect as a consultant or as may be necessary for any structures associated with the project. And there are some structures, there are maintenance sheds, some of those things that could be involved. And then Section 15 is the effective date of July 1, 2025. With that, I would be happy to answer any questions unless you have some other comments you'd like to make, Mr. Madole.
Good afternoon, Craig Madole. It's M-A-D-O-L-E. I'm the CEO of the Nevada Chapter AGC, and we want to thank Senator Daley for sponsoring this bill. I just wanted to clarify a couple of things. There's only one amendment. We took all of the language proposed by the civil engineers and incorporated it into the amendment that you guys were presented with my name on it. All of their language exists in Section 10 of the bill, and then in Section 12 is the one element that changes the self-performance requirement. But I do want to just reiterate, what this bill does do. It allows for the widening of I-80, which is wholly, the entire widening project will occur in Washoe County. It's a one-time authorization for that. It does nothing. It would take additional legislation in future legislative years to adopt this delivery system beyond the scope of that job in Washoe County. And it also does not mandate that NDOT uses this project. As Senator Daley referenced, we have an opportunity to have this roughly $500 or $600 million job done with more than 95% of federal funds. We're trying to ensure that all tools are available to the department to ensure this project occurs in Washoe County soon, instead of having to wait 15 or 20 years for the department to have the resources to do it. So this is just simply enables them to consider this as a delivery system. It does not mandate they use it. But with that, we're happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions from the committee? Wow, it was the perfect presentation. I have a couple of questions or comments. I just want to say I learn something new every session. This is the first act I've ever heard are in a committee that I've been in front of. So I'm excited. So just to clarify, this doesn't mandate that NDOT uses this progressive design build. They can still utilize the other three options that they have been accustomed to, choosing between.
Again, Skip Daly, for the record, that is correct. There are some provisions that progressive design build allows that may be advantageous for this project, especially when you're trying to get the money allocated and various things. They can start some of the pre-construction and design quicker. So if they do utilize this, they still have to advertise and have to wait for proposals to come back and do the evaluations. But then they can start some of the pre-construction and design quicker as they move forward. They don't have to have the complete package done in a design bid build environment.
So this, because we received this federal grant and this money pretty quickly, this allows a little bit more flexibility in making sure that we can start that project. Is that my understanding?
Again, Skip Daly, for the record, yes, that is my understanding as well, and DOT can do that. So the money and the risk that it gets withdrawn or taken back by the administration, I think, is fairly small. But it's a concern, at least one that I have. So this would just allow them to start the process. They can move forward with the pre-construction and design quicker under this and have some of that money allocated and utilized before there's any type of potential pullback.
Any other further questions? Go ahead, Senator Hansen.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Now, this only goes from Sparks to the turnoff, right? Because originally I thought it was going all the way to Fernley, but it doesn't. It stops at the turnoff to Trick.
Skip Daly, again, for the record, yes, that's correct.
And it's
Unless you
500.
can get the government to give us some more money, we'll go all the way to Fernley.
I'll ask. You're already getting this one. Total cost is estimated at 600 million, 500 to 600 million.
I'm not sure. I think the grant was 195 million. There are different portions of the work, but the NDOT may be able to answer that.
No, I think it's a great idea. I just, want to get on the record some idea of total cost, who's paying for it and all that. They came and met with me, and so I have a good feel for it overall. But I thought just, plus I want to make dang sure that there's a competitive mechanism in this, because you're going to say, 500 million here, and then when the whole project is actually going forward, it's 750 million.
For the record, Pedro Rodriguez, Pedro-Rodriguez, Assistant Chief of Project Management for the Nevada Department of Transportation. Chair Nguyen, through you to Senator Hansen.
Feel free to go direct to the member.
Thank you. Yes, Senator Hansen. The estimated cost for the construction of the I-80 project is approximately $500 to $600 million.
Okay, that's what I wanted to double check and get on the record, so, thank you. Thanks, Madam Chair.
And if I can, Madam Chair, again, Skip Daly for the record on the one comment that the senator made. So don't misunderstand, CMAR has a selection process up front, but it is a competitive process. People have to put in their RFQs, they have to put in their qualifications, they have to submit their experience and various things. And then when you get to the part on the negotiation for the guaranteed maximum price, I have less concerns on an engineering type project on this, where they have I forget the acronym, but it's ICE. It's a cost estimator. So they know how much the costs are, or the range of costs that they'll do. So it's much easier. A lot of that stuff's in place and is known. So there is a competitive process, though. Thank you.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Now, I'm just a little gun shy after we've had some issues with some underground cable situations in my district. This is also in my district. It also involves NDOT, so I'm just double checking. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Again, Skip Daly, for the record, if I can, Madam Chair, I was told by Commissioner Madole earlier, I have a quarter of a mile is in my district.
It's a very important quarter mile. Go next to Senator Pacina.
Thank you. So between the quarter mile in your district and the remainder in Senator Hansen's, I'm just curious. Again, I'm not as familiar with this area. I represent Clark County. What exactly do the improvements entail?
For the record, Pedro Rodriguez. Thank you, Senator Pacina. The improvements entail adding one lane in each direction, eastbound and westbound, from Vista to USA Parkway, inclusive of structures, retaining walls, improvements at the four interchanges located within those limits, as well as ITS improvements and pavement reconstruction.
Thank you so much. And again, this just shows that I'm not as familiar with I-80, but how many lanes currently are going each direction?
For the record, Pedro Rodriguez. There are 2 lanes in each direction, the majority of the way from Vista to USA Parkway. We add additional exit ramps, for instance, at the interchanges like USA Parkway.
I think the project is definitely needed. I think anyone that has driven that road, I don't think there is a time where there isn't traffic on that road. And if anything happens, I know you can be in a parking lot there. So I think the project is great, and I don't see any other questions from committee members, so I can ask you to step back, and we will see if we'll start with support testimony. I'd remind everyone to please state your name clearly for the record and spell it for the record. And because we have a full room and 3 bill hearings today, if you can limit your comments to 2 minutes, that would be appreciated. Go ahead and begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon, committee. For the record, Thomas Morley, Thomas Morley, and we are in support of the bill. I represent Laborers Local 169, Laborers Local 872, Southern Nevada Legislature, Laborers District Council, as well as the communication workers and Teamster 631. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Michael Hillerby, on behalf of the Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County, here to support the bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chris Burke. Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. Chris Burke, for the record, CHRISBURKE. I'm the Vice President of Granite Construction's Nevada region, and I'm here to support the Senate Bill 315. PDB, as it could be described, is a proven method collaborative contracting. My company, Granite, has done this type of contracting in other states, as well as many others that are going to give testimony and support. The bill, I think, which is important, is specifically supporting this vital infrastructure project on I-80 in northern Nevada, a corridor that is most certainly in need of the improvements for both safety and commerce. PDB advances procurement much quicker, which, as was previously discussed, is important to secure that $275 million grant. In closing, we support this bill because it will allow the department the opportunity to secure the funding that's most desperately needed for the project on a much-needed corridor in the state of Nevada.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the council. My name is Eloy Hara. I'm the business manager of Laborers Local 169 in Reno. And we're in support of the bill because if you live in northern Nevada, you're aware that that corridor from Vista to USA Parkway, there's a lot of accidents. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of things that happen in that corridor. So not only would we be supporting a project, a much needed project, I feel like we would also be, preventing many accidents that are happening in that area. So thank you.
Patrick Boileau, Patrick Boileau, Deputy Political Director with Operating Engineers Local 3. We wanted to register our support for the bill. It's good for workers, it's good for employers. It'll put hundreds of our members and other building trades members from the Reno Sparks area to work.
Chris Koenig, CHRISKOENIG. I'm with Kiewit. We are an engineering and construction firm, work with DOTs all across the country. We've recently performed NDOT's 2 largest projects, Project Neon and currently on I-15 Tropicana. We have extensive experience around the country with progressive design build. We delivered our first progressive design build project in 2006. And we are big advocates of the process, the procurement method in general. And we are highly in support of it for this project specifically.
Michael Brady for the record, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'm a tribal liaison and market rep for the Northwest Regional Organizing Coalition, also a second-generation member of Labor's Local 169, and also a proud member of the Pyramid Lake Paiute Tribe. Lifelong Nevadan, grew up on the Pyramid Lake Paiute Reservation, particularly Wadsworth. So I've spent countless times coming from Wadsworth to Reno and back. I've been in that parking lot. It's a mess. So it would be huge for this bill to pass and this job to proceed. So I'm showing support of. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Kevin Linderman, President of Community Construction, that's Linderman. We are in support of this bill. One of the big things that we always see is where NDOT usually does a design bid build process. And then they also have CMAR. We've done several CMARs with the state. We've done several progressive design builds outside of the state. And most of the states in the U.S. actually have this in their legislation. One thing that we always want the opportunity to do is to be able to change things before the final design happens to allow the state to save money or a faster, cheaper way to get the project done, just like we do with almost all of our private work jobs. That's kind of the process that we have always used to do those. This would give the state another tool in its toolbox to be able to perform that and to be able to do permits and right-of-way acquisition in the same period of time that the design is actually happening, as opposed to some of the other avenues they have. It's worked very successfully for other states, and we would appreciate you guys considering this project singular as a test project for this type of delivery. Thank you.
Good afternoon. For the record, Seth Alexander with Ames Construction, SETHALEXANDER. Ames Construction is here in support of this bill. We've constructed several complex transportation projects for the state of Nevada, currently using this same delivery method to respond to just terrible flood damage in North Carolina. And this delivery method will allow increased collaboration between the construction, design, and owner's team, and will lead to a more successful project. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. Nick Ciccone representing the city of Reno. We are in support of the bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Robert Purdy, for the record, with Silver State Government Relations. On behalf of IBEW 1245, we're in support of the bill. Ditto all the previous commenters, and as an ex-UNR student, yeah, that highway needs to be fixed. Thank you.
Don't see anyone here in Carson City any longer. Is there anyone to testify in support in Las Vegas? If you are there, please come to the table. Seeing no one, if we could go to broadcast and see if we have anyone on the phone lines in support of Senate Bill 315.
Star 9 on your phone to take your place in the queue. Once again, to testify in support on SB 315, please press star 9 on your phone to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers in support at this time.
Thank you. And next we will go to testimony in opposition of Senate Bill 315. Don't see anyone running to the table. Maybe you've scared them all off, Senator Daley. Oh, we do have someone in Las Vegas, so we will go down there. Go ahead and please state your name and begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, Ann Barnett, CEO of the Nevada Contractors Association. NCA represents the construction industry in Southern Nevada, and while this bill may specifically apply to the I-80 project located in Northern Nevada, NDOT is a statewide agency, and we view any policy changes to construction delivery methods through that lens. Much of the policy to execute the project is not in SB 315. It is in other documents, including NDOT's Pioneer linear program guidelines, which address existing alternative delivery procurements and contain important items such as how evaluation teams are assembled and how subcontractors will be selected. Additionally, we were emailed the draft RFP documents late last Friday for future progressive design build pursuits that may also contain directions on how the IAD project would be executed. NCA supports the IAD project 100%. However, we believe it is important to note that this new delivery method, which NDOT has not used before, is not necessarily required to achieve the intended goals. We believe the current procuring methods can still achieve the desired results along with ensuring the protection of taxpayer dollars. Much of the early discussion about using progressive design build was centered on the concept that for NDOT to obtain a federal grant, progressive design build must be used. We believe that methods currently authorized under the law, design build, and CMAR could be used. NCA is concerned about how this bill is currently drafted, the limited amount of time to review this bill, and the lack of supporting progressive design build language. Thus, we must currently speak in opposition, yet we do look forward to discussing further with the sponsors in vetting and testing the fail-safe measures within this procurement method, provided it is instituted correctly. Thank you.
I don't see anyone else in Las Vegas. If we could go next to AVH to see if there's anyone on the line to testify in opposition.
If you'd like to testify in opposition on SB 315, please press star 9 on your phone to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you. Next, we will go to neutral testimony. If there's anyone to testify in neutral, if you can come to the table and begin when you're ready.
For the record, Pedro Rodriguez, P-D-R-O-R-O-D-R-I-G-U-E-Z, Assistant Chief of Project Management for the Nevada Department of Transportation. Firstly, thank you to the sponsor of Senate Bill 315, Senator Daley, for involving NDOT in the discussions throughout the evolution of this bill. NDOT believes a pilot project involving progressive design build may help garner additional data on this design and construction method. We believe this bill may create efficiencies in the overall project delivery process and help streamline the construction of the I-80 widening project east of Sparks. This project is one of NDOT's top priorities to deliver to the rapidly growing community. Progressive design build has been implemented in other states, and NDOT has studied this alternative design method over the past year and believes it to be an effective way to deliver this highly complex project. We consider this bill to be revenue neutral. Thank you for your time this afternoon, and again to Senator Daley.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. Kanani Espinoza with the Rowe Law Group on behalf of the American Council of Engineering Companies, the Nevada chapter, which represents the Nevada's engineering professionals. As previously mentioned, ACEC has submitted the amendment that is attached to the amendment provided to the committee. We wish to express our sincere gratitude to Senator Daley for including ACEC and his working group on Senate Bill 315. Alternative design methods often introduce complexities into the traditional owner-engineer-contractor relationship, which can undermine critical protections for engineers established under NRS. As previously stated, we appreciate the proposed amendment being included in this hearing and submitted by ACEC that addresses these concerns. With this amendment, we are neutral on Senate Bill 315. Thank you.
Chair, members of the committee, Nick Vasiliadis for the record on behalf of the Southern Nevada Building Trades Union. Been getting a lot of questions on where the trades union stands on this, and we are currently neutral. We understand the need of the need for the project, and we support a bunch of our affiliates who are looking to build on this project. At the same time, we also hear some of the concerns. So at present, we're going to remain neutral. Thank you, Chair.
I'm looking down at the table in Las Vegas. I don't see anyone down there to testify in neutral. So if we could go to the phone lines for any neutral testimony.
To testify in neutral on SB 315, please press star 9 on your phone to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers in neutral at this time.
Perfect. I will invite the bill sponsor back up to the table to make any closing remarks.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Skip Daly again for the record, and just a couple of comments on this. in a different situation, on a different project, in a different scenario, if this was going to have progressive design build as a permanent method, I'm not sure I would be there yet. Some of the concerns that you heard. And I know a lot of the testimony and support were contractors, they've done it, they like it, et cetera. There are issues with some of this. I'm in full support on this job. I believe the circumstances and the issues that are there will make this beneficial to this project. That's why I'm kind of in support. As far as 2 years from now when somebody brings this, and I'm positive they're going to, I don't know if I'll be in support, but we'll see how this project goes. And if any of you guys ever watched the movie Charlie Wilson's War, at the end when they tell him, "We'll see," said the Zen master. Look it up. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Senator Daley. You once told members of this committee multiple times that no one ever came in neutral in your bill. So I think you were proven wrong today. There were 3 people in neutral on your bill. So, and with that, we will close the hearing on Senate Bill 315. And at this time, I don't see Senator Cruz Crawford in here. I'll give people an opportunity to leave the building if they are not here. And I will turn this over now to my vice chair, and I will step down to present Senate Bill 321.
Senator Nguyen, everyone's leaving before you can present.
Give you a complex.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Rochelle Nguyen. I am proudly represent Senate District 3, and today I am proud to present Senate Bill 321. However, the majority of the work in the presentation I am going to turn over to my intern this session. I have Cynthia Mora, not Moore, to be confused with the assembly member. Cindy Moore, sorry. She wants to go by Cindy Moore. She is here today presenting Senate Bill 321. She is an intern in her last year of college at UNLV, getting her degree in political science. She is also a proud graduate of Rancho High School? Yes. Rancho High School in Clark County in Las Vegas, Nevada. And with that, I will turn this over to her to present.
Thank you, and thank you, Vice Chair Pacina and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Cindy Mora, and CINDY-MORA for the record, and I am an intern through UNLV for Senator Rochelle Nguyen. I am thankful and honored to have the opportunity to present Senate Bill 321 today, which reserves a provision relating to public utilities and aligns Nevada's civil penalty structure for those at the federal level. Public safety incidents related to natural gas pipelines failures can have severe consequences, including damage to the environment, economic losses, risks to human lives. A tragic example is in 2010 San Bruno pipeline explosion, where a natural gas pipeline ruptured in a residential neighborhood, killing 8 people and injuring dozens more. The utility that owned that pipeline was later charged with multiple violations of the federal Natural Gas Pipeline Safety Act, or NGPSA. This incident serves as a sobering reminder of what can happen when safety standards are not rigorously enforced. To strengthen Nevada's commitment to preventing such disaster, SB 321 updates the civil penalties for violations of regulations adopted by the Public Utilities Commissions of Nevada in conformity with the NGPSA. Currently in Nevada, individuals violating pipelines safety regulations can face penalties up to $200,000 per violation per day, with a maximum cap of $2 million for related violation. However, federal regulations allow for higher civil penalties due to the annual inflation adjustments. The federal cap currently stands at $272,926 per violation per day with a maximum of $2,729,245 for related violation. By updating Nevada's penalty structure to match federal limits, SB 321 ensures our enforcement measures remain strong, current, and effective. The Senate Bill 321 also removes the provision allowing the amount of civil penalties to be deducted from the amount of money the state may owe the violator. Currently, if a business has a financial obligation from the state, for example, a contract payment, a penalty could simply be subtracted from that amount instead of requiring a separate payment. By removing this provision, SB 321 strengthens the accountability by requiring business to actively pay fines rather than passively absorbing them through state transactions, and eliminates a potential loophole where companies could avoid making out-of-pocket payments for violation. At the pleasure of the Vice Chair, I will now review specifics. I'll review the specify of the bill. Section 1 aligns Nevada civil penalties for the pipeline safety violation with federal limits, ensuring state penalties are updated in accordance with adjustments at the federal level. This section also removes a provision allowing the amount of civil penalties to be deducted from any sum owned by the state to the person charged with the violation. In closing, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to present SB 321 today. By aligning our state civil penalties for natural gas pipeline safety violations with those at the federal level, this bill ensures they remain an effective deterrent against violations. Public safety incidents related to pipeline failures can have devastating consequences. As history has shown us, by increasing the maximum penalties for violation, this bill strengthens our ability to hold companies accountable and reinforces our commitment to preventing future disaster. I urge your support of SB 321 to take this important step towards strengthening natural gas pipeline safety in Nevada. Thank you, Vice Chair Pacina and members, for your time today.
And I just wanted to clarify something. There was a actual Scribner's error that was conducted in this bill hearing, or in this bill drafting. If you look at the digest, it refers to 49 or 46 US or 49 USC, which is correct. But in the actual text of the bill, it says 46. So legal LCB has indicated that we don't need an amendment for that. It was a true Scribner's error, and so they are correcting what we would call a typo. That is the only forthcoming amendment. Just to be clear, this is something that we already do. This allows us to have state control instead of having the federal government allows us to maintain and operate this like program. Oh, I'm hearing myself. And what this does is come 2027, we were not going to be in alignment with these federal regulations. And so this puts us in alignment with that so we can maintain that local control. And with that, we'll answer any questions you might have.
Thank you so much. Committee, do we have any questions? Senator Hansen, it wouldn't be a committee if we didn't have a question.
I don't know if you're the, thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I don't know if you're the person, I think PUC is going to come up in neutral or something. Okay, I have some questions for them then, because I want to find out who this, is this for utility companies, for underground gas companies putting the subcontract out? So we'll wait till they come up in neutral or whatever.
They can come up and answer any technical questions. They can tell you about the existing program and what this bill hopes to extend.
Excellent. Okay, there's the man on the hot seat. Well, there's the question. First of all, does this apply to underground utility contractors, or is this, I mean, because you and I had a meeting recently, and you guys want a bill that basically says every homeowner that digs a hole more than 12 inches deep could be liable to some federal law. Is this what we're talking about?
Paul McGuire, I'm the head of engineering for the Public Utilities Commission, MAGUIRE for the record. No, Senator Hansen, this only applies to pipeline operators.
Good.
And currently in this state, we have 11 of them. 2 of them are in the room here, our 2 biggest, NV Energy and Southwest Gas. It only applies to operators who have to comply with the pipeline safety regulations.
Perfect. That's kind of what I wanted to just double check to make sure it's limited to those types. Now, last question real quick for you. Have there been any, excellent job presenting the bill, by the way. She had mentioned an explosion in California where 8 people were killed. Have we had anything like that in Nevada from any of the utility companies?
Unfortunately, we have. Southwest Gas had a pretty significant incident back in 2015 where they had a pipeline rupture, consumed a backhoe, did quite a bit of damage, was a federal reportable incident. NV Energy in 2019 had a home explosion up there on Eureka Avenue in Old Central Reno. 2 people were in the home. They both survived. It was an older home, so it was brick, so that really helped them. It's the old, huff and puff. You can't blow the house down. So we have had incidents to this not to that magnitude, but we have had explosion incidents. Nothing recently since we went to the annual leak survey requirement, which has been really beneficial.
So when that happened, did that result in a fine for Southwest Gas? Or, this bill is aimed at them. Is this is just updating what you already were doing? So did they pay a $200 to $2 million or whatever it was fine?
Well, and for the record, we've never cited to the top level. This just ensures every year the PUCN is required to file a certification and agreement with the US DOT saying we will inspect and enforce intrastate pipelines, so the ones that start and stop in the state. And as part of that certification, we have to tell them we have substantially similar authority to the feds. So that's why in 2015, our civil penalty went up to the $2 million to match theirs. Since that time, they've inflated the number, and the concern is when they tip over to $3 million, if we're sitting at 2, it'll be tough. It would be tough for me to certify that $2 million is substantially similar to $3 million. And if that happens, it recently happened in Idaho, the federal government takes enforcement away from the state, and then they enforce and they use their law. So this just ensures local control. And to answer your question, no. I think Southwest Gas was fined $300,000 for the rupture they had in 2015, and NV Energy for the one in 2019 was about $500,000.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you so much. While you're here.
Okay.
Another question. How often would you say that there's a violation of the regulations?
I think last year we issued around a dozen violations. It depends. We've had 40 some years, 12 the other. But all violations are not equal. Some of them are paperwork. The guy didn't complete this section of the form, or there are certain prescriptive requirements that things be done once a year, not to exceed 15 months. Sometimes the utility misses it by a week or so. So there are violations, but in terms of egregious ones, like the ones that San Bruno that were criminally, referred to criminal, we have never had any of those.
Thank you. And one quick follow-up would be, are most of the violations that you've had usually cleared up within a day or two, or do they tend to drag on?
Normally, they're cleared up pretty quickly. Sometimes they require procedure changes that the utility then takes 3 or 6 months to go through because they have a vetting process, especially Southwest Gas because they operate in 3 states. So when they change their operations manual, they have to run it by multiple states because they operate under one plan in all 3 states.
Thank you so much. Do we have any other questions from the committee? Ms. Mora, what a great presentation you gave. Thank you so much. Senator Nguyen, and thank you so much for answering our questions from the PUC. We'll have you step back.
Can I just
of
follow up?
course.
I just want to make it very clear. Part of the reason I wanted to make sure that we brought this is you had talked about any delays that would happen. If we are not in compliance with the federal regulations, instead of us being able to take action locally, it would revert over to the U.S. Department of Transportation. And then we would be relying on people in Washington, D.C. to do the things that we are able to do locally. And so what this bill does is it keeps us in alignment with those federal regulations so we can maintain that local state control. And I think it's something that you'll hear from the utilities that they would prefer rather than having the U.S. Department of coming in and doing that same work. Now I'm done.
Thank you so much. We'll have you step back, and we will invite anyone who would like to testify in support of Senate Bill 321 to come up to the table. We'll start in our physical locations and then move to the phones.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Ryan Leonard, RyanLeonard, Government Affairs Advisor at Southwest Gas. We are in support of this bill. This bill would align state standards with PHMSA, or the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration regulations, and would allow us to report directly to the state. I want to thank the sponsor and the PUCN for bringing this bill. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Seeing no one else at the tables in our physical locations broadcast, we're going to move to the phones for anyone in support of Senate Bill 321.
To testify in support of Senate Bill 321, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon. My name is Mike Robertson, Mikeroberson, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Nevada Attorney General's Bureau of Consumer Protection. The VCP supports SB 321, and we urge you to pass this legislation. Thank you.
Chair, we have no additional callers in support at this time.
Thank you so much, broadcast. All right, we will close out support of Senate Bill 321 and move to opposition. If there's anyone in the room in opposition of Senate Bill 321, either in Carson City or Las Vegas, do come to the tables. Not seeing anyone approaching the tables. Broadcast, we're back to you on the phones. Is there anyone in opposition of Senate Bill 321?
To testify in opposition of Senate Bill 321, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers wishing to testify in opposition.
Thank you so much, broadcast. All right, we are going to move to neutral on Senate Bill 321. If there's anyone in the room in neutral, please feel free to step to the tables, and we will start in Las Vegas.
My apologies. I'm going to go on support. I was just in the other room. CYRUSHOJJATY. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Do we have anyone who'd like to testify in neutral? Not seeing anyone, we are going to move to the phones. Broadcast, do we have anyone on the phones in support of Senate Bill 321?
To testify in neutral for Senate Bill 321, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers wishing to testify in neutral.
Thank you so much, broadcast. Would our presenters like to? Okay. Well, we thank you so much, Senator. And Ms. Mora, you did a beautiful job presenting, and I took some photos, which will be sent your way. And with that, we're going to welcome our chair back to the table and close the presentation on Senate Bill 321.
Thank you. And, Ms. Mora actually was given that presentation about 20 minutes before we walked in the room. So it's a testament to how flexible and good she is at doing this. So with that, we will now open the hearing on Senate Bill 326. And I see the senator here, and begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chair Nguyen and Vice Chair Bezina and members of the Growth and Infrastructure Committee. I am Senator Michelle Cruz Crawford, and I have the distinct privilege of representing Nevada Senate District 1 located in Clark County in North Las Vegas. And hopefully you take some really cute pictures of me like you did Mora. Ms. Mora. But on all seriousness, today I present with you Senate Bill 326, which I feel like is a good luck charm number because that's actually the location code of the school I'm a principal of. In short, Senate Bill 326 will enhance public safety by requiring certain smaller water services providers in Clark County to report the adequacy of their infrastructure, including the capability to provide adequate service for the fire protection under existing law. So I do want to be very specific. The bill does address smaller water districts in Clark County, and that will be shared right now. Because right now with me today, I have Attorney Matt Morris, who is going to outline the provisions of Senate Bill 326 and discuss the need and intent behind this important piece of legislation. I'll hand the presentation over to Mr. Morris as he walks through the provisions of the bill and the conceptual amendment that we submitted to the committee. Go ahead.
Thank you, Senator, and thank you, Chair Nguyen, Vice Chair Pazina. Matt Morris, M-O-R-R-I-S for the record. I'm an attorney with Holland & Hart, and I'm happy to walk through the provisions of Senate Bill 326. I do have a short presentation that I'm going to try to work here. Hopefully that, okay. So the intent behind SB 326 is simply to close a reporting gap under existing statute that exempts certain small water service providers in Clark County from resource planning and reporting rules that generally apply to other service providers throughout the state. The proposal is limited to those utilities that are not subject to the same integrated resource plan, general rate case, and water conservation plan rules that other entities are required to follow under existing law. I'd like to first highlight a few statutory standards for water service adequacy under NRS Chapter 704. Publicly regulated water utilities are required to furnish a reasonably adequate supply of water at reasonable pressure for fire protection at reasonable rates. These rates are approved by the Public Utilities Commission, which also reviews and approves installation of infrastructure to ensure system and resource adequacy to meet this statutory standard. Generally speaking, there are approximately 22,000 customers in Nevada who receive service from a provider that is subject to this standard for adequacy. However, while most service providers are subject to the same standard of ensuring reasonably adequate service, not all service providers are subject to the same reporting and resource planning rules. Service providers that earn more than $1 million annually in revenue are subject to triennial integrated resource planning or IRP rules. IRPs are, by definition, intended to be reviewed by the public, and they identify the service provider's current and projected service requirements, including water supply, water rights, storage, transmission and distribution system, and fire flows and fire hydrants as applicable. But smaller providers are not required to file an IRP if they do not meet that revenue threshold, even though they're subject to the same minimum adequacy standards as other large providers. Additionally, pursuant to NRS 704 sub 110, service providers that earn more than $2 million in revenue and that serve more than 3,000 customers are subject to general rate case rules that require the service provider to justify and obtain regulatory approval for any proposed rate changes. GRCs are often involve solicitation of public comment, technical expert testimony, and other features that are meant to facilitate public review and input. Smaller providers, though, are not subject to this requirement and instead often benefit from simplified procedures under NRS 704095 for rate changes that do not involve the same level of public review and participation. And finally, most service providers are required to submit a water conservation plan under NRS 704662. This particular filing is also required to provide an opportunity for any interested party to submit written views and recommendations on the plan, which must also generally be available for public inspection and which must be approved in a public proceeding before taking effect. Again, certain smaller providers which are subject to simplified procedures are not required to file this water conservation plan. For them, it's optional. So in totality, these various exemptions and relaxed reporting standards create a gap whereby certain small water service providers, which are still bound to provide the same level of reasonably adequate service, are nonetheless subject to the same level of public review and input. So non-regulated entities that are quasi-municipal, political subdivisions, government entities are run by boards that are elected, and they are subject to open meeting law, they're subject to public reporting requirements. So constituents have a mechanism to hold that entity accountable for mismanagement or poor service delivery. But a select group of smaller, privately owned and operated entities are able to avoid the same level of public scrutiny, even though the service that they provide in their service territory to schools, businesses, and homes is no less critical. So SB 326 seeks to close this reporting gap for smaller water service providers. Section 1, the only section of the bill, requires an annual report to the PUC that describes the service provider's infrastructure adequacy, including specifically the utility's ability to ensure service for fire protection, which is the minimum standard for service delivery under existing law. The bill does not alter or expand this standard. It simply requires smaller, privately owned utilities to report on their ability to meet this standard. Given other carve-outs for these entities under existing statute, this proposed reporting would provide a reasonable method for the public to review the adequacy of the utility's infrastructure to supply basic service. The bill also allows that if regulators determine that other reporting is necessary to serve the public interest, SB 326 would afford that discretion to adopt other reporting requirements that would apply to these specific smaller scale operators. I do want to emphasize that these changes do not apply to larger water utilities that are not subject to the relaxed regulatory and reporting rules, nor do these changes apply to the quasi-governmental entities or political subdivisions that provide water service. They have elected boards and they're subject to other reporting rules. These changes would apply only to a select number of smaller operators in Clark County that are currently subject to less stringent reporting requirements. Thank you for the chance to outline SB 326, and I'm happy to answer any questions from the committee. Thank you.
I see the PUC in the room, so I'm sure they would be able to answer any questions that you might have. I'm getting a nod. But go ahead, Senator Hansen, ask your question.
Thanks. No, we met briefly before, so it was quite interesting. Question I have is, okay, you got a small company that is well under the current threshold. What happens if they find that they're not adequate? Does in this bill, does it give PUC the power to shut them down? If you're requiring, they have a certain number of fire hydrants in their 250 people thing, and if they don't have enough pressure and volume, what happens if they're judged to be inadequate?
Thank you, Senator. Matt Morris for the record, and through you, Chair, to Senator Hansen. This is not a enforcement bill per se. This is a reporting bill. The PUC has a variety of administrative tools at their disposal to exercise oversight over any regulated utility, and we're not proposing to change any of those administrative tools. What this is primarily designed to do is to answer that question of whether certain smaller utilities do have adequate service, whether they have adequate infrastructure, whether their infrastructure is aging or needs to be upgraded, the bill would put the onus on the operator to submit that information to the Public Utilities Commission every year.
Okay. Is anybody testifying today on this, neutral or anything? I do have a couple questions for you guys, if I could. So how you guys would actually enforce this. I understood the reasons behind it, but anyway, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. That was going to be my question too. And so hopefully the PUC might be able to answer that question. Do we have any other questions from the committee? Seeing none. Do you have any final statements, or I'll just have you step back and we'll take testimony and support at this time. At this time, I will invite people up to the table if they're here to testify in support of Senate Bill 326. Seeing none here, I'll go to Las Vegas. Is there anyone in Las Vegas to testify in support? Seeing none there, if we can go to the phone lines, is there anyone to testify in support?
To testify in support of Senate Bill 326, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Again, please press star 9. Chair, we have no callers wishing to testify in support.
And right now we'll go to testimony in opposition of Senate Bill 326. Is there anyone to testify in opposition? If you are, I'd ask you to come to the table. I don't see anyone here in Carson City, and I don't see anyone going to the table in Las Vegas. Is there anyone on the phone lines?
To testify in opposition of Senate Bill 326, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers wishing to testify in opposition.
And finally, I'll go to neutral. Is there anyone to testify in neutral? Go ahead and begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. For the record, Don Lamoljo, LOMOLJO, Staff Counsel with the Public Utilities Commission, and to my right is Cindy Turacek, Water Engineer with the Public Utilities Commission. We are appearing neutral on this bill. We just wanted to present some issues that we've noticed with the bill for your information. The bill itself, as written, seems to apply to only one water utility in the state of Nevada that would fall within the parameters of the bill. It's a very small water utility in Indian Springs in Clark County. For context, that water utility has a net operating income of under $40,000 per year compared to some of our larger utilities who have operating incomes in excess of $1 million, which would require integrated resource planning. Those water utilities have the resources to file those extensive filings with the commission, including counsel, outside consultants, engineers, etc. These very small utilities do not have those resources. So that's the reason why these small utilities are exempted from some of the more rigorous reporting requirements of the commission. Going to the bill itself, the requirements to file condition of infrastructure reports with the commission, in our view, that is duplicative of other efforts of these smaller water utilities. They do provide that information to NDEP, and they also provide that information to, in this case of this utility, the Southern Nevada Health District, which conducts a triennial sanitary survey of this water utility. So that information is available in that forum. Regarding water rights, that information is already available and reported to the Division of Water Resources, both when water rights are procured and in the maintenance of those water rights with DWR. As far as a water conservation plan required by the Public Utilities Commission, that water conservation plan is required of all of our water utilities when they do file a general rate case. I'm not sure if Ms. Turcek has anything to add.
Hi, Cynthia Turcek for the record. It's T as in Tom, URICZEK. And I just wanted to clarify that the water conservation plan, all our water utilities do file water conservation plans with us, but we ensure that that is also filed with the Division of Water Resources. And it's the Division of Water Resources' job to make sure that they approve beneficial use and that they have their permits and certificates in good standing. And in addition to the sanitary surveys, we do have our own checks and balances with the utilities. We're in constant contact with them and make sure that they're operating and that they're not in violation of their water quality standards. We make sure that they have the pressures that they need to, and we're also working with them to make sure that they get funding needed to do the projects that they do need to do. So, thank you.
I have a couple questions, and I think Senator Hansen might as well. When I'm looking at the proposed amendment that was on, I think it's right up there actually right now. Currently, during this triannual reporting that this particular water company, are they subject to that triannual reporting?
I'm sorry, Cynthia Turcek for the record. Are you referring to the integrated resource report or the general rate case?
The company that this bill seeks to like address, do they have to do any kind of reporting now?
So they're subject to our staff inspection report, and then they are also subject to annual reports that they file their financial status with us.
As a part of those annual filings of this company right now, the information that's in here, do they have to address the adequacy of the water supply for fire protection as required in this NRS 704.660 that's indicated in this amendment?
So Cynthia Turchek for the record. As far as the adequacy of the supply of water, that would fall under the purview of Nevada Division of Water Resources. That would be under their proof of beneficial use, so that would not fall under that annual report.
So do you know, and I don't know if you know this because it's under a different agency, do they have to provide this annually to someone?
So it's kind of a, Cynthia Turchek for the record.
It's
kind of
unnatural, I know.
It's a two-part. So as far as adequacy for water supply, they usually have a time for their proof of beneficial use, and I apologize off the top of my head, I don't remember the timeline that is for the proof of beneficial use. It could be 3 years, it could be 5 years. I would have to double check, subject to check.
And I don't know if you, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, and then as far as sufficiency for the system to be able to provide fire protection, that is something that when they're actually constructing their infrastructure in the beginning, we review the Division of Environmental Protection, who does the water infrastructure plan review and approval. They are the ones that actually look at the fire storage, they look at the pressure requirements, and they look at the fire hydrant placement, et cetera. And unfortunately, as we discussed, a lot of these systems are smaller and were built a long time ago, and codes have changed along the way. So what we find when we go out and we review the system's infrastructure, or with the sanitary survey through Division of Environmental Protection or Southern Nevada Health District, is if they do have deficiencies, we work with them to try to find funding mechanisms to be able to rectify those issues. So
In this particular, you had said that it's a very small water company. Do you know how many customers they are servicing in that Indian Springs area?
For the record, Don Lamolho, the most recent numbers, they serve 363 customers, and that includes some commercial accounts.
Senator Hansen, do you have some follow-up questions for the PUC?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Several. 362 customers. How did you know that? Because if they don't file an annual report or whatever, how would you have any idea what the number of customers are?
For the record, Don Lamolho, that is from their last annual report filed with the commission. They do file annual reports with the commission with their financial status and customer counts.
Okay. No. Well, the problem, I'm sure that everybody's kind of the elephant in the room here is we have developers trying to develop in that area, and he can't get any information from them about the amount of water that's available. Sounds like this bill may be overkill if their total gross volume is $40,000 a year. One fire hydrant installed is about $40,000. So I'm just kind of, is there a mechanism in law currently that would allow a developer to be able to get the actual information as to the amount of water available in Indian Springs from this water company?
For the record, Don Lamolho, there's a couple avenues to address a developer's concerns. One is publicly available information available through the Division of Water Resources. They can obtain that information specific to water rights from that agency. They can also come to the Public Utilities Commission and receive similar information, as well as a structured complaint process that the commission does have in place. And developers have taken advantage of that, and developers are in the middle of that process with the commission regarding water utilities, and we help them through that process.
All right. Did you say they're currently in the middle of it with you? I mean, they've already approached you guys about this particular situation?
There is a developer that has a complaint pending before the commission with this utility, yes.
Okay. No, I'm just trying to help, I want to help out the people that want to build in the area, that when they met with me, the frustration they seem to be having is they can't get the information to find out if water is available for their project. And so there are some avenues they may have available short of this law maybe then. Okay, by the way, it's nice to see you again. It's been a while since we worked together. Still with PUC, obviously, then. All right, I think that answered my question, so hopefully we'll work something out. Thank you very much.
Do we have
Thanks,
any
Madam
other
Chair.
questions from the committee? Thank you for your testimony. Thank you for being willing to answer these questions in your neutral position. Do we have any other people to testify in neutral, either here in Carson City or in Las Vegas? Seeing no one coming to the table, if we can go to the phone lines for neutral testimony.
To testify neutral for Senate Bill 326, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for neutral at this time.
Thank you. And with that, I will call the bill sponsor. And do you have any? Nope. Oh, we're willing to pass on this. And with that, we will close the hearing on Senate Bill 326, and we will move into our last agenda item, which is public comment. I'd invite anyone to come up to the table and public comment. Seeing no one here in Carson City and no one in Las Vegas, we can go to the phone lines for anyone to testify in public comment.
If you would like to provide public comments, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Caller, please press star 6 to unmute on your end. Caller with the last 3 digits 510, please press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Bobby, what's your phone number?
Phone number? You are unmuted, sir.
Hello? Hello?
Sir, if you have any screens playing the meeting, please mute those screens.
Is that, I'm sorry, is that someone calling in from the room in Las Vegas?
Yeah, I'm calling in on the 326 meeting.
You know,
Are you there?
we've closed the hearing on 326. If you have any comments to make on 326, I would encourage you to put them in writing, and we'll make sure that the committee members get your comments in writing. We are currently in public comment right now.
Okay, I could not get through. I was trying to.
Okay.
I'm in favor of 326 if you can do that.
Why don't you go ahead and do it, and we'll note that for our records. Can you go ahead and please state your name?
This is Timothy L. Dane, D-A-N-E, like Great Dane. I own property in Indian Springs, and I am in favor of 326.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. We'll make sure that it is corrected for the record that that is under the supportive testimony of Senate Bill 326. Thank you for your testimony. Do we have any other callers?
Yes, Chair, sorry. If you recently joined the call and would like to provide public comment, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Again, if you recently joined and would like to provide public comment, please press star 9. Chair, we have no callers wishing to provide public comment.
Thank you. And with that, I will close public comment. And at this time, a meeting is adjourned.